Welcome back to this edition of News Today, a series where we discuss and analyze today's top stories with precision and clarity. Without delay, let's explore the headlines first. Credit rating agency ICRA downgrades Indian banking sector outlook to stable from positive. India helping 5 nations develop early warning systems, says India Meteorological Department Chief. AUKUS partners have turned their focus on Indo-Pacific security in shaping joint capabilities. The Earth Action Organization has recently released the Plastic Overshoot Day 2024 report. 2024 Corporate Climate Responsibility Monitor report has been released by New Climate Institute in collaboration with Carbon Market Watch. The International Monetary Fund sounded a warning in its Global Financial Stability Report 2024. Let's start with the first news. Credit rating agency ICRA downgrades Indian banking sector outlook to stable from positive. ICRA cited a moderation in credit growth and profitability due to declining interest margins as the key reasons behind this action. This is a significant development that could have ripple effects across the Indian banking landscape. Now let's understand what credit ratings are all about. Credit ratings are an assessment of a borrower's ability to pay back their dues on time and in full. They also indicate the credit risks associated with a specific financial instrument. These credit ratings are provided by specialized agencies called credit rating agencies or CRAs. In India, we have 7 CRAs which are registered with SEBI, namely AUKUS, CRISIL, ICRA, CARE, India Ratings, Informerix, and Brickwork. Except Brickwork Ratings, all 6 CRAs are RBI accredited domestic CRAs. These CRAs assess companies, governments, and other entities that issue securities. They assign ratings ranging from AAA, which is the highest, to D for default. The CRAs are primarily regulated by SEBI and governed through SEBI Credit Rating Agencies Regulations 1999. Also, RBI issues accreditation to CRAs as external credit assessment institutions for rating bank loans or facilities. However, the credit rating industry has faced its fair share of concerns, such as rating shopping, opaque methodologies, and personal biases. This has led to calls for reforms like shifting from issuer pays model to an investor pays or regulator pays model, and transparent rating methodologies, rotation of CRAs, and more. Moving ahead in the news. India helping 5 nations develop early warning systems, says India Meteorological Department Chief. India is lending a helping hand to 5 nearby nations to establish robust early warning systems or EWS in their countries. The countries receiving India's assistance are Nepal, Maldives, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Mauritius. The goal is to reduce the loss of life and property caused by extreme weather events in these nations. This is part of the United Nations Early Warnings for All initiative announced back in 2022. But what exactly is an early warning system? It's an integrated system that monitors hazards, forecasts potential disasters, and enables governments and individuals to take timely action to reduce the risks. The Early Warnings for All initiative, spearheaded by the World Meteorological Organization and the UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, aims to protect everyone on the planet from hazardous weather, water, and climate events by the end of 2027. To achieve this ambitious goal, the initiative calls for investments of $3.1 billion between 2023 and 2027 to strengthen the 4 pillars of early warning systems: disaster risk knowledge, detection observation, monitoring, analysis and forecasting, warning dissemination, and communication and preparedness and response capabilities. The need for robust early warning systems is clear. Between 1970 and 2021, natural disasters claimed around 2 million lives and caused economic losses of $4.3 trillion globally. World is projected to face 560 medium to large-scale disasters each year. With climate change increasing the frequency and severity of these events, EWS have become crucial for improving preparedness and mitigating the impact. However, the implementation of early warning system is not without its challenges. Lack of coordination between data collection and warning dissemination centers, as well as language barriers that hamper the communication of alerts, are among the issues that need to be addressed. To overcome these challenges, experts suggest improving data quality, ensuring global access to data, and integrating scientific and technological advancements with local, traditional, indigenous, and generational knowledge. This collaborative effort led by India in line with UN's Early Warnings for All initiative marks a significant step towards building more resilient future for the region.
In our next news, the AUKUS partners have turned their focus on Indo-Pacific security in shaping joint capabilities. The AUKUS are considering cooperation with Japan on Pillar 2 Advanced Capabilities projects. But first, let's take a quick look at what AUKUS is all about. Formed in 2021, this trilateral security partnership formed between USA, UK and Australia is intended to strengthen the ability of each government to support their security and defense interests. AUKUS has two main areas of focus. Pillar 1, that is conventionally armed nuclear-powered submarines, which involves the UK and USA helping Australia acquire nuclear-powered submarines, and Pillar 2, advanced capability development, which is all about developing joint advanced capabilities to enhance interoperability with focus on cyber capabilities, artificial intelligence, quantum technologies, and additional undersea capabilities and more. The impact of AUKUS in the Indo-Pacific is quite significant. On the one hand, it will help counter the growing influence of China in the region, maintaining a critical balance of power. However, it also raises concerns about increased militarization and the potential for regional tensions to escalate. And lastly, it raises concern about the nuclear proliferation. AUKUS is distinct from another key strategic grouping in the Indo-Pacific, the Quad or Quadrilateral Security Dialogue. While AUKUS is primarily focused on defense and security partnerships, the Quad has a broader agenda. If we talk about Quad or Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, it is a group of US, Australia, India and Japan which commits for a free, open, prosperous and inclusive Indo-Pacific region. As the AUKUS partners continue to shape their joint capabilities, the eyes of the world will be on the Indo-Pacific, watching to see how this evolving security landscape will unfold. It's a dynamic and complex situation, but one that the AUKUS countries are determined to navigate with skill and foresight. In another news, the Earth Action Organization has recently released the Plastic Overshoot Day 2024 report. It sheds light on the global and national challenges we face in managing the ever-increasing amount of plastic waste. The Plastic Overshoot Day marks the point when the amount of plastic waste exceeds the world's capacity to manage it, resulting in environmental pollution. This day is determined based on a country's mismanaged waste index. In 2024, the Global Plastic Overshoot Day is projected to occur on September 5th, while India's Plastic Overshoot Day falls on April 23rd. The key findings of the report paints a concerning picture, as globally it is estimated that 220 million tons of plastic waste will be created in 2024, representing a 7.11% increase since 2021. Moreover, 12 countries are responsible for 60% of the world's mismanaged plastic waste, with China, India and Russia topping the list. Focusing on India, the report classifies the country as one of the low waste producing polluters. India's MWI is very high at 68.62% and its annual per capita plastic waste production stands at 8 kg per capita per year. Interestingly, the amount of plastic waste exported from India is lower than the amount imported. The report identifies the primary causes of plastic waste in India as improper disposal, resulting in the release of microplastics and the use of additives in plastic production and processing. To address these challenges, the report recommends that India develop robust local waste management infrastructure and invest in waste management policies such as extended producer responsibility. Recognizing the need for action, the Indian government has taken several initiatives to manage plastic waste, including the Plastic Waste Management Amendment Rules of 2022, the Project Replan or Reducing Plastic from Nature, the India Plastics Pact of 2021, and the National Circular Economy Roadmap for the Reduction of Plastic Waste in India. These initiatives, coupled with the recommendations provided in the Plastic Overshoot Day 2024 report, offer a framework for India to tackle the growing menace of plastic waste and work towards a more sustainable future.
Let's move ahead in the news. 2024 Corporate Climate Responsibility Monitor report has been released by New Climate Institute in collaboration with Carbon Market Watch. This report assesses the transparency and integrity of climate strategies adopted by 51 major global companies. The CCRM report examines 4 key areas of corporate climate action. These are tracking and disclosure of emissions, setting emission reduction targets, reducing own emissions, and taking responsibility of unabated and residual emissions. Let's dive into the key insights from this report. The good news is that the collective ambition of companies 2030 and net zero climate targets has gradually improved over the last 2 years. But the not so good news is that most companies continue to fall short of the emission reductions needed to limit global warming to below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Many are still relying on controversial solutions like carbon capture, utilization and storage, standalone renewable energy certificates, bioenergy, and carbon dioxide removals as an alternative to emission reductions. The report recommends mitigating over-reliance on these contentious solutions. Further, the report has some other clear recommendations for various stakeholders. Governments should set binding sectoral climate targets and expand carbon pricing or cap and trade emissions trading systems. Companies should accelerate their climate target revisions towards 2030, and regulators, standard setters, and voluntary initiatives should provide more prescriptive guidelines for fossil fuel phase-out. Now let's take a look at some of the key initiatives aimed at improving corporate climate responsibility. These include the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change's Race to Zero campaign, the UN High-Level Expert Group's recommendations on the net zero emissions commitments of non-state entities, the International Organization for Standardization's Net Zero Principles, and the new Science-Based Targets Initiative standards.
In our next news, the International Monetary Fund sounded a warning in its Global Financial Stability Report 2024, highlighting the rising cyber threats that pose serious concerns for macro-financial stability. According to IMF's Global Financial Stability Report 2024, the risk of extreme losses from cyber incidents has increased to $2.5 billion, and the number of cyber attacks has almost doubled since the COVID-19 pandemic. Notably, attacks on financial firms account for nearly 1/5 of the total, with banks being the most exposed. Now, what are the reasons behind the rising cyber incidents in the financial sector? Primarily, the increased adoption of digital financial services has created a target-rich environment for hackers. Additionally, insider threats, where users with authorized access to assets misuse their privileges, either deliberately or accidentally for monetary gain, pose a significant challenge. The cybersecurity skills gap in the financial industry has also left firms vulnerable to these cyber threats. Lastly, in the face of geopolitical tensions such as the surge in cyber attacks following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the impact of these cyber attacks on macro-financial stability can be severe. Data breaches can lead to a loss of confidence in the viability of targeted institutions, resulting in high deposit outflows. Cyber attacks on payment networks can halt trading, online banking, and other critical financial activities, ultimately undermining a country's financial stability. Furthermore, these cyber attacks can propagate rapidly within a network of financial systems through financial linkages, impacting overall market stability. To address these challenges, the report recommends several policy actions. Firstly, there is a need to strengthen the reporting of cyber incidents by financial firms to supervisory agencies. Secondly, financial firms should develop and test response and recovery procedures to remain operational in the face of cyber incidents. In a related development, let us also look into the World Cybercrime Index. It is a joint partnership between the University of Oxford and UNSW Canberra. The index reveals that India ranks number 10 in cybercrime, with frauds involving people making advance fee payments being the most common type. Topping the list are Russia, Ukraine, and China. The personality in news for today is Mahatma Jyotiba Govindrao Phule. He is in news as recently the Prime Minister of India has paid tribute to Jyotiba Phule on his birth anniversary. He was born in Maharashtra and was a social reformer, writer, educationalist, and was considered as the champion of social justice. Talking about his key contributions, with the help of his wife Savitribai Phule, they both started the first school for girls in 1848 in Pune. Moving on in 1873, he founded Satya Shodhak Samaj, or the Truth Seeker Society, to attain equal rights for people from lower castes. His major literary work includes Tritiya Ratna, Gulamgiri, Shetkarre Cha Asud, and more. He exhibited the values of compassion, courage, humanism, and more.
As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. A joint statement issued by Japan and the USA recently opposed any attempt to unilaterally change the status quo of the Senkaku Islands by China. Japan and China have long-running disputes over these islands. The Financial Services Institution Bureau, or FSIB, has recommended Sanjay Shukla for the post of Managing Director of National Housing Bank. FSIB was constituted in 2022 under the Department of Financial Services, Ministry of Finance, by the central government, replacing the Bank Board Bureau. The Secretariat of Bureau currently comprises Secretary and 5 officers. Global Society for Preservation of Baobabs and Mangroves has initiated a mission to rejuvenate baobab trees. Baobab tree is a long-lived, deciduous, small to large trees from 20 to 100 feet tall with broad trunks and compact tops. It grows in Africa, Madagascar and Australia. India's share of the global pool of Web3 developers has increased from 3% in 2018 to 12% in 2023. Web3 is the third generation of the World Wide Web. It enables peer-to-peer transactions and interactions without intermediaries. Web3 provides a version of web where users have a financial stake and more control over the web. Fresh proposals under SNT PRISM program have been invited by Jawaharlal Nehru Aluminium Research, Development and Design Center, Nagpur. Promotion of research and innovation in startups and MSMEs in mining, mineral processing, metallurgy and recycling sector functions under Ministry of Mines with the objective to promote ecosystem for research, design, development, IPR creation, pilot project and manufacturing in mining, mineral processing, metallurgy and recycling. Apple has issued warnings to users in India and other countries of potential mercenary spyware attacks. Mercenary spywares are designed to remotely infiltrate and compromise smartphones and other devices without the knowledge or consent of the users. Several states are using the Suraksha platform for disbursing subsidies to horticulture farmers under the Cluster Development Program or CDP. CDP is a component of the Central Sector Scheme of National Horticulture Board. For the first time in India, Eurasian otters were radio tagged in Satpura Tiger Reserve, Madhya Pradesh. If we talk about other 2 otter species found in India, then these are smooth-coated otter and Asian small clawed otter. The Eurasian otter is classified as near threatened by the IUCN and is protected under the Wildlife Protection Act listed under Schedule 1 as well as under sites listed in Appendix 1. Before we sign off, let's challenge your understanding in today's installment of Test Your Knowledge. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found this episode of News Today engaging. For the solutions of today's quiz and to access the PDF version of News Today, remember to visit the provided links in the description.